Welcome to the international headquarters of the Questers in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. At the beginning of the 19th century, Philadelphia was already a thriving city, located along the banks of the Delaware River. A short distance from the river, a lawyer by the name of Henry C. Freeman owned a parcel of land fronting on a narrow lane known as Quint Street. On his property, a ground rent was levied, which meant that anyone leasing his property must erect a building. In 1802, Thomas Caldwell, a blacksmith, leased the land and built two small houses. It is presumed that the one was used for his residence and the other for his shop. The area was heavily wooded, providing a fine source of fuel for the blacksmith shop. The exterior of the two houses on Quint Street appear just as they do today. Let us consider just one of the pair of buildings, the one to the south, 210. As in all old buildings, various occupants have made changes from time to time. There is little information available for Mr. Caldwell's occupancy until the early 1920s, when the back of the first floor was extended to the western edge of the land and skylights were installed in the roof of the extension. Before entering the house, a view of Freeman Court, honoring the original owner. The iron gate is a replica in early Philadelphia style and was donated by a foundry. The gate at the rear of Freeman Court has been installed by the Questers as a security measure. The ginkgo tree provides a touch of green on a city street, but has had some unfortunate encounters with the trucks which use Quint Street. The facade was restored by a former owner in 1957 at a cost of $8,000. Stucco was removed from the lovely old bricks and the steel casement windows were replaced by the 6/9 windows, appropriate for an 1802 house. The house was eligible for certification by the Historical Commission of Philadelphia. As it was restored earlier than many historically important buildings in Philadelphia, it has a fairly low number on its plaque. The house cannot be removed nor touched by any redevelopment. In October 1967, the Questers purchased this house for the national headquarters and library. The building is mortgage-free, and all contents have been donated by Questers from all over the United States and Canada. A visit to the Questers International Headquarters begins at the front door with the Williamsburg knocker. As you enter through the front door, you see the pleasant reception area. Beside the steps leading upstairs is a walnut Pembroke Federal-style drop-leaf table with one drawer and serpentine flaps. The guest book is waiting for your signature. Above the table is a Queen Anne looking glass with a reverse painting and a gold leaf frame. Below the front window is a Chippendale mahogany lowboy with shell decoration circa 1885. Holding a Limoges punch bowl with Arms of Liberty design, a reproduction, and a Heisey clear glass pitcher. Flanking the lowboy, a pair of Chippendale side chairs from the late 18th to early 19th century with straight legs and slip seats. Soon after the Questers purchased this house in 1967, this handsome cupboard was installed on the south wall to cover the reception area fireplace. Note the beautiful shell and keystone design. It is a copy of an existing cupboard in one of Philadelphia's Fairmount Park mansions. The pressed glass goblets and blue willow platters accent the colors used during the 1989 refurbishing project on the interior of the building. The Camelback love seat is a Chippendale reproduction. Above it is a portrait in oil of Charlotte Church, painted by Angelo Ames around 1820. Charlotte was an ancestor of Thatcher Longstreth, a name well known in Philadelphia politics. The love seat is flanked by two small walnut tables with brass candlestick lamps. One is a Pembroke inlaid table with one drawer, and the other is a Sheraton walnut table with turned legs. Notice the lovely ironstone cup which belonged to our founder, Jessie Elizabeth Bardens. The tall case clock was made in the first half of the 19th century by Joseph McIntyre of Crieff, Scotland. It is a Hepplewhite in style, stands 7 feet 10 inches high, is Santo Domingo mahogany with a scroll-top bonnet, brass capitals, and fluted detached columns. The case waist has quarter columns and a base on bracket feet. The enamel dial is hand-painted with figural scenes and has Roman and Arabic numerals. A Chippendale mahogany mirror hangs over the Hepplewhite mahogany card table. The lovely Federal silver tea service and tray with coffee urn dates from 1790. Beside the table is a Queen Anne period side chair with splint seat. The theorem painting is a stencil art form usually done on velvet, circa 1860. The watercolor of violets is a special piece, as it is the work of our founder. To the right is the small kitchen, which is decorated with various items such as crocks, copper and tin buckets, and a variety of pottery. You can now see the fully functioning office of the quaestors. The floor in this room was reconstructed in 1984 due to termite damage. Under the Oriental-style rug, there is a hidey hole which is in front of the hearth. There is another access to this secret place from the basement, if you know where to look. A close-up of the fireplace reveals the 19th century English brass andirons and the brass and wrought iron fender from the early 20th century, which adds so much charm. In front of the fireplace, we have a Windsor armchair made of pine and ash, and a Queen Anne wing chair, which is a reproduction. In the corner to the right of the fireplace stands a Kaz, now used to store office supplies. When it arrived at headquarters, it was painted green, but meticulous restoration has retrieved the lovely walnut finish. Here on the east wall of the office is a cherry Sheraton chest with 4 drawers. Above it hangs a pine and mahogany mirror. Note the Wedgwood vase and pitcher and the Jasper ware cracker jar with silver lid. The cup and saucer are survivors of the 1906 California earthquake. The Chippendale sofa, a reproduction, is flanked by 2 maple candle stands. Next to one of the maple candle stands is a Queen Anne side chair made of pine with a split seat. Above the sofa is a collection of prints, including a large engraving and a gold leaf frame titled George Washington at Trenton. The walls are decorated with many prints, wall hangings, and plates. As you can see, this is a very practical office where our office manager is able to take care of the needs of our membership. It seems appropriate that an engraving entitled Benjamin Franklin at the Court of France should hang over the postal machine, as it was this revered gentleman who designed the mail system for this new republic. As we leave the office parlor, we again pass through the entryway to the narrow and winding stairs to the 2nd floor. The stairwell, originally enclosed, was open to provide more space and light, and is much like it might have been when the building was first built. Here we have one of the reasons the quaestors purchased this building. This is the Jessica Elizabeth Bardens Memorial Library, which was established in 1951 by Elizabeth Rink, the founder's daughter. It was dedicated to Mrs. Barden's memory in 1964 by the members, and in 1967 was moved to the 2nd floor of our headquarters. Mrs. Barden's daughter, Elizabeth, nourished her mother's quaestor's dreams for 20 years while she was an active member and as the national president from 1960 to 1962. During her tenure, the Founders Award was established, which is presented yearly to a quaestor's member authoring the best research paper on a chosen subject. In earlier years, the winners' names were engraved on the pewter plates above the bookshelves. Now the names are preserved in a book. The library has a fine collection of books on antiques donated by members to share with other members. All of the educational resources are considered part of this memorial library, which includes the study papers, Founders Award papers, slide programs, video programs, and the What's in a Name file. The latter is the historical story of each chapter's name and contains over 1,200 manuscripts. Each of the 3 floors has its own fireplace. This one is original and is said to be in working order. The hanging mantel is also original, saved and donated to the house by the late Sheldon Carey, who once lived next door. The fireplace highlights three important artifacts to questers: the portrait of our founder, Jessie Elizabeth Bardens, a gavel once used by the founder, and the syrup pitcher which started it all. Mrs. Bardens, who was a Red Cross production chairman in 1944, purchased the pitcher one noon on her lunch hour. After showing this pitcher to her co-workers and discussing it, her co-workers were intrigued by her knowledge of antiques and were interested in learning more. Mrs. Bardens invited them to join in learning more about antiques, and thus this unique organization was formed in 1944. This is a prize Windsor armchair with 12 spokes and a red painted finish. It is reported that curators at Independence Hall would love to have the armchair, reputed to be one of the originals from Independence Hall. It has been donated by a Quester member and still retains the original paint. The Irish sea chest at the right of the hearth was used to bring belongings to America around 1860. The International Executive Board has meetings in this room twice a year to oversee the management of the organization. The pair of arrowback pine chairs in the middle of the room are mid-19th century, and the pine schoolmaster's desk in the corner dates from about 1890. The painting on this wall was done by Bess Bardens in 1943. She took it to a photo shop in Ambler, Pennsylvania to be framed, but the work was never completed before Mrs. Bardens' death. Here it is, displayed for all questers to enjoy. This long Windsor settee or deacon's bench is said to be early to mid-19th century. The primitive dry sink at the top of the stairs is circa 1800. Hanging over it are two Audubon lithographs of a young swan and an adult swan. Another narrow winding stairway takes us to the third floor, which served as an office from the time the Questers purchased the house in 1967 until 1983. Outside this window is a three-way mirror called a busybody, which enabled the lady of the house to see who was ringing the doorbell without a trip down 2 flights of stairs. The secretary bookcase, with slant front desk and glazed doors from the late 18th century, houses the tea caddy collection which belonged to Mrs. Bardens. There are 11 of them. This long wooden tea chest features mother-of-pearl inlay. The small sterling silver caddy features repoussé work and most probably was made in Holland around 1840. The blue and white caddy is labeled Spodes Italian, Copeland, England. On the top is written, "Polly, put the kettle on, we'll all have tea." This close-up shows a second tea chest which is decorated with brass in a Chinese design. The large square caddy on the second shelf is a Chinese export from the Qing dynasty. It was made between 1862 and 1865. The white and green caddy features a female figure and is marked Printemps Sanssouci. It is from Germany. To the left of the secretary bookcase is a walnut table with a brass candlestick lamp. The Chippendale side chair has ball and claw feet, acanthus carved knees, and shellwork on the front. The wood is mahogany. Next to the fireplace is a primitive table which has one leaf longer than the other. Several brass candlesticks are located on the mantel, along with an old red and white Staffordshire ironstone coffee pot. This old spinning wheel with a basket of yarn would have been found in any home of this period. Located in front of the bookcase is a Pembroke walnut drop leaf table, which holds a flint glass whale oil lamp with a hexagon base. The bookcase holds more Staffordshire, along with hand-painted plates of historic houses from England, several books, decanters, vases, and candy dishes. The cozy window seat was designed during the 1989 refurbishing project. The Queen Anne wing chairs flank the drop leaf table with turned legs. A Satsumi lamp and a pressed glass bowl decorate the top of the table. This unusual clock is a French or Swiss frame Mobier type wall clock. It is about 4 feet in height, with the weights and pendulum hanging free. The pressed brass repose dial mask and pendulum housing shows women picking fruits and flowers. The round white porcelain dial has Roman and Arabic numerals. This clock may have been made in the second half of the 19th century. This is a Chippendale settee with double back, and behind it is located a drop-leaf table made of mahogany. Above it hangs a print of Hawk by Bartlett. This third floor still has the original floorboards. The Chinese Aubusson rug was added in 1985. Above it hangs a 6-arm brass chandelier. This concludes our visit to the international headquarters of the Questors. The building is open to all Questors. Arrangements can also be made for chapter visits. Please make an appointment with the office manager at headquarters.